Hello and welcome to Kast. I'll be your host, Kalis, and with me as usual co-hosting is Boojum.
Hello.
We have Ben Lesnick from Cloud Imperium Games, the community manager.
Hey everybody, great to be here.
And also we'll be following a more QA interview format today rather than normal discussion with the roundtable, although we will have some discussion from the roundtable today. On our roundtable today, we have Azrael.
Hi.
Brandy.
How's it going?
Alex.
Hello.
Connor. We have someone who doesn't normally join us, a person by the name of Commissioner Jan.
Hello.
We have Molasses Fats.
Hi.
Regulus.
Hello.
And Beaky Helmet, although he may be muted. Okay.
No, I'm right here.
All right. So we want to ask a few questions, but first let's figure out who Ben is. Now, most of us are all familiar with it because we follow Star Citizen fairly closely. But Ben, what can you tell us about yourself? What do you do for Star Citizen? How you got started within Cloud Imperium Games, and your relationship with the project?
Who's the real Ben?
All right. Well, I've been with Cloud Imperium Games since before it had a name. I was one of our first couple employees who planned out the initial crowdfunding campaign, and I've been working as community manager and designer ever since then. If you haven't interacted with me on the forums or on the site somewhere, you've probably flown a ship I helped design.
Which ships have you actually designed? I'm curious. Or helped?
Let's see. It's pretty much my DNA in everything except for the Gladius and the next couple ships that are coming out of the UK. But all the initial campaign and the second and third wave ships were all me, Dave Haddock, and Chris Roberts.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I didn't know it was that many. Yeah, wow.
We actually had a little question about the schedule that the modules and stuff are going to take up. Can you outline what form the schedule that the modules are going to be released in? For example, what are the next modules that are going to be released and in what order?
In all likelihood, the next one is going to be FS. After that, it gets a little more hazy because we're working on all these modules simultaneously. So PlanetSide is looking great right now. We're starting to put together the character creation, that sort of thing that'll go into the what we used to call the social module. FPS is almost certainly the next one out. After that, it's going to be whatever meets our expectations first.
Excellent, excellent. For the upcoming live events, can you actually be specific about what CIG is going to attend? Like you guys mentioned PAX sometimes, but which of these PAX events specifically? Because there's lots of different ones.
Sure. Okay. So our next big thing where we have a presence is this week, Gamescom in Germany. And that's going to be a big one where we're throwing a big Star Citizen event for backers. Then at the end of the month, we've got folks going to PAX East, or no, sorry, not PAX East, but regular vanilla PAX and DragonCon. We aren't having big backer events, but we are appearing on a bunch of panels. I think Chris is going to be at PAX, possibly on a panel with David Braben, the Elite guy, talking about their two games together. I'll be at DragonCon with Alex Mayberry, Dave Haddock, and David Ladyman, our Jump Point editor. And we'll have some minor reveals there, but it won't be as big a deal. We have no plans at present to be at PAX South, but we will be in force at PAX Australia.
Excellent, excellent. So at this panel with David Braben and Chris Roberts, is it going to be like gladiatorial combat or?
No, they are old friends. I mean, they worked on their crowdfunding campaigns together. We actually had a thing where we supported each other in the early days. I think a lot of the conflict there comes from our backers and not the actual people in charge of the game. I think there's no stronger group of backers for Elite than the Cloud Imperium offices. Everybody has supported that game.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of the fact that, we actually have two major space sims coming rather than we had none for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, our feeling is that, Star Citizen is not a success if it just makes money for Star Citizen. it's a success if it brings back the genre and makes people care about this stuff again. And Elite is great evidence that that's happening.
All right, excellent. So let's move on to the actual QA, and we'll ask a few of those questions. Brandy, go ahead and ask your question, please.
All right. Hey, how's it going, Ben? I'm curious. Chris talked about how subscribing might continue into the game's actual release for, extra content like jump points and stuff. Also, people wanted to buy in-game credits, so, on a monthly basis, you guys talked about how they'll be able to do that. Has there been any other discussion on potential ways to monetize aspects of the game to provide, like, income on the long term? Like, for an example, like, paid advertising, maybe in-game with, like, billboards and stuff at, intersections or jump points. Maybe will ships be able to be purchased still?
We have talked about a lot of that, especially the advertising. Our rule for that is that we would sell advertising if it makes sense. In the 30th century, maybe there would still be Coke, and if Coke wants to do a futuristic version of their logo and a futuristic ad campaign that fits in the Star Citizen universe, that's pretty cool and immersive. If we're just going to be selling, current day ads plastered into Star Citizen, that would not happen. As for monetizing after launch, we're still focusing on selling credits and not selling ships. We'll sell ships in that you can pick up a package that has an Aurora, but the big plan right now is to continue to sell credits like we do in the Voyager Direct store. They'll just be something more interesting to do with them.
So ship sales will pretty much stop once it's P1 or Persistent Universe version 1, right?
That's the thinking right now. I mean, if we get there and it turns out, hey, nobody buys credits, but people do buy ships, maybe we'll change our plan. But right now we've been thinking credit sales are the way to keep it kind of fair.
Why not both?
I've noticed there's a lot of pushback about selling ships, so I guess we'll have to see what happens there.
All right.
Never mind. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. No. All right. Azriel, would you ask your question, please?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've noticed in MMOs is that it seems sort of inevitable that players begin to trash talk or slander one another, and especially in multiplayer games with more developed metas, this slander can take on a slightly political aspect, and competing groups try and discredit one another to change the tide of public support or damage an enemy's morale. And I was wondering, as a community manager, how do you intend to allow or restrict this type of emergent meta on the RSI forums in the game or even on third-party sites?
My feeling is that it would have to make sense inside the universe. If, I'm trying to think of an example guild. If the Starfarers Guild is attacking the Gunrathi and they're saying, oh, you're doing whatever horrible thing in the game, that's fine. If they're looking up people's phone numbers and posting them online to get them kicked out of the game, get their lives ruined, that's unacceptable. But I think trash talking inside the context of the game is perfectly cool. Chris's Wing Commander 1990 was one of the first games that actually kind of introduced that concept. In order to win, say, an escort mission, you would have to taunt the enemy to get them to attack you instead of their ship. So we're kind of cognizant of the fact that that's part of our world. That's how fighter pilots would behave in the future. So it's certainly not talking about everybody has to be nice to each other all the time in the game world.
So as long as it makes sense from an immersive standpoint, you can belittle the shit out of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
I think there's a pretty clear line there.
You have to use like the sci-fi swear words, like Frank and such.
Frank, Felder Carb.
Okay, this is Boojum. I have a question that's similar to those lines. In the game, is there any philosophy for how you moderate behavior that's different from moderating the forums? So, is there a different standard for what is or isn't okay to do in-game versus on the forums? Because, on the forums, for instance, you're generally not allowed to personally insult people.
Yeah, the game will absolutely be treated differently than the forums. You're not going to have the same group of moderators. It'll be all professional GMs, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
So it's not going to transfer forum rules into the game. It's going to be a totally different set, which we're just starting to put together now. And I think it'll evolve the same way the forum rules have.
I think that's really good to hear because I'm not really looking forward to necessarily destroying someone's ego, but it's just the idea that all these in-game conflicts need to be allowed in-game without necessarily screwing up the forum. So they both need to coexist.
It's a natural part of gameplay, that competitive aspect, and forcing it out it takes away from the fun. I mean, I'm not a big fan of when companies specifically try to encourage it. Like, I don't think we need a teabagging emote, that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
let the players act like they would in the future, which they'll be fighting with each other.
Right. I just wanted to avoid the scenario of pirates having to play nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not on the
well,
table.
yeah. We here at Kong, we like to generate tears through our actions in game by
Existing.
and destroying ships and whatnot. All right, so moving on, I have a question for you. Can you talk a little more about the upgrade system? We haven't had any updates on it for a very long time, and I was hoping we could get a little information about it since the upgrade slot system was canceled.
Okay, yeah, it's not so much that the upgrade slot system was canceled, was that it became a little bit more logical. So instead of, and I was the one who did the original upgrade slot design concept, where you'd have, a 10 by 10 brick in your ship, and you could put whatever you want in there. So now you have one slot on your engine, and you can put whatever you want there. You have one slot on your guns, and you can put whatever you want there. It's just more specializing in a way that makes sense. So if I want to put a gun cooler in my ship, the only place it'll fit will be on the gun rather than in the vague, empty upgrade space. It's a symptom of us making the ships a little bit more realistic once we actually get into them, saying, oh, we actually want to render all these parts and have them make sense.
So it's going to be ship specific for the parts? Because before I know it was more universal.
You're going to have a variety. There's going to be parts that are specific to one particular company's ships, and then you'll have kind of generic, like the Amazon basic ship parts that'll apply to everything. We have a pretty rich system there we're building. I mean, we have. You're going to see the floodgates open in the next couple of months in terms of ship upgrades. We're specific. In the past, we had a couple game design pipelines, and we had the ship pipeline. We're opening up our character and our ship component pipelines, so we'll have dedicated people building both of those things, and you'll start actually having them integrated into the game very soon. And it'll make a lot more sense then. But yeah, there are manufacturer-specific parts. There'll be like specialty upgrade parts. So say you want to pay extra credits to get an especially nice gun cooler, you would go to the guy who makes them for Space Ferraris. Or if you want to do the generic one that applies to every ship, maybe it's not as good, but it's a lot cheaper, easier to find. We have it kind of branching off in a number of different directions.
Excellent. Really good to hear that. Thanks for giving us an update on that, because we haven't heard about it for, it's been a while. Azrael, you had something to mention?
Oh yeah, I was wondering, will that upgrade system be any way tied into a system allowing you to earn guns and equipment in Arena Commander?
We are also building that system. One of the things that's tremendous from doing it so far is that we just haven't had cool upgrades to give you. So we will have both the idea of simulated weapons that you can earn in Arena Commander, because we don't want to just force you to buy stuff until the actual game is live. So we're looking at ways to gamify Arena Commander more in terms of, you've earned an additional ship trainer, or you've earned a laser that you can upgrade your ship with. So that is definitely coming. It'll be kind of an offshoot of the system we're building for the Persistent Universe, since we need all these assets anyway for that.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So, as a quick follow-up for that, I know there was mention of maybe making like an Arena Commander bucks, like you would earn in-game to like buy in-game stuff for just the Arena Commander. Were you intending to follow those lines, or did you have a different idea, like an achievement system or something?
We are tending more towards the sort of achievement or earned in-game weapons for Arena Commander, just because it doesn't necessarily make sense that your futuristic video game will give you actual money in your account. But we're talked about both options, and either one is still possible at this point.
Excellent.
This is Boojum. I had a question about the mechanics that are going to support piracy in game. The way I view piracy, it's mostly extortion. You're convincing someone to surrender their cargo or their ship or something like that in exchange for something like, letting them live. So what in-game mechanics are going to make that possible, as opposed to just shooting people and trying to pick up pieces of scrap? Is there any way to transfer credits or cargo? And how would that work for NPCs?
Yeah, actually, one of the things we've been doing when we've been going back to the first couple ships, and you probably see we've been doing design passes on like the 300, the Starfarer, some of the ships we came up with early on. One of the specific points they have to be able to do is dump their cargo, because we know we're going to have these situations where you're surrounded by pirates. Pirate gives you the choice: I'm going to blow you up and take your stuff, or you can just dump it and go on your way. And our thinking is build the game rules in a way so that is theoretically mutually advantageous. Hey, if I can save my ship, the pirates won't be as punished as much for stealing this if it works out in that way. So we're definitely thinking about piracy in those terms.
Okay. So as far as how that work for NPCs, I imagine there's just some kind of menu where you can give an NPC these ultimatums. Would a player use that same system?
Not much. If you were playing Privateer, you had basically exactly that. The pirates would surround you and say, dump your cargo, and you could. Same with the police. If you had, they were going to scan you for contraband, you could dump it right there for them and get off with less punishment. That's pretty much what we're working from.
Tying into that, what about a reputation mechanic that tracks whether or not a pirate honors surrender? Because there's always the question of, well, what if I dump my cargo and then he kills me anyway? So can you develop a reputation for being a pirate who will actually keep his word there?
Yes, absolutely you can.
Perfect.
All right. Azrael, you had a question about the ATV?
Oh yes, I remember from around the verse. You mentioned that the team at SIG Austin is working on a big design document for the whole Persistent universe. I was wondering what types of plans does that document entail? What features are covered in it, even if you can't go into each one in detail?
So Tony Zurovec has taken over the Persistent Universe design team in Austin. He's the guy who did Crusader No Remorse years ago. He's kind of come back to gaming after many years at Chris's insistence. This is sort of the game he's always dreamed of making. He's taken charge of the team in Austin. Basically, they are scripting out everything in the new GDD for Persistent Universe 2.0. It's the economy, it's the upgrade system, it's how we take assets from Squadron 42 and put them into Star Citizen. It's it's the how you cycle from space to ground to land. It's how the game treats a jump point. It's pretty much everything that will make up Star Citizen. In fact, I think just last week on ATV, I had to read off a list of the bits of the document they did that week. So if you guys check that out, that should give you an idea of what they do in a week, really.
Wow. And that was a great interview with Tony Zurovec, too, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. I love doing those interviews with the guys who work at Origin. That stuff always fascinates me.
All right. For the next question, is there any information you can give us about the salvage or the mining system?
I'm not sure if I can give you any extra information about them, just that they're both in the works. And we spoke about modules earlier. Those are both contenders for mini modules. So at some point we'll say, okay, we have mining worked out enough. It's working in the engine. We're going to add that to Arena Commander in some form to see how it interacts with people. And same for salvage. Those are both very distinct iterations of our engine that are being worked on at the moment, and you may see sooner than later.
I guess that'd be an interesting take on the control point game type. Instead of just holding the point, you have little miner guys who try to collect resources instead of just arbitrary time points.
Yeah, we don't want to do mining or salvage in kind of the traditional, click on this, 30 seconds, and then you get a valuable thing. So
wait for your green bar.
Yeah, we're gamifying it as much as we can, but I don't want to give away any of the plans there yet, because that's one for Chris.
Well, the reason why I asked was we were really excited when we saw the design doc by Calix Renew for the cargo system. The detail and effort put into that is really impressive, and we're all pretty excited about it.
I am very much looking forward to 5 or 10 years in the future where we can actually put out all our game design documents, because they're very, very impressive. And that's kind of a little example. But cargo seems so boring, but we knew it was going to be a building block to everything else in the game. You can't have piracy without cargo. You can't have the economy working without cargo. We can't design our larger ships without knowing how much cargo they need to move from planet to planet. So it's very much recognizing that we need that cornerstone in now, even if it's nowhere near as exciting as dogfighting.
Earlier with mining, there had been they discussed it being volumetric, where you actually dig into rocks. Is that still the plan?
That is part of the plan, yes.
Brandy, you had something to say?
Yeah, I kind of had a question about the previous question. Has there been any discussion about hailing and voice communication will work between like hostiles? I mean, will pirates be able to send a voice communique to a potential target without that target's consent, or will you have to accept incoming transmissions? Like, how will that work?
We are thinking you will have the ability to just turn off your comm if you don't want to get messages from other players. Because that's certainly something that would make sense in the context of the game. I can turn off my computer if I don't want people cursing at me. But it's still very early on. We're talking to a couple of different people for how to do the voice communication. It's not built into the CryEngine. So we'll have more on that in the future as we lock it down.
So if someone just goes around with their voice communication up, then you'll be able to pretty much hail them at will. But if they turn it off, then you're just kind of out of luck.
That is the current thinking, yeah.
That works.
All right. For our next question,
able to use electronic warfare to take over their ship and then turn on their comm system
And then
for
yell at them.
Tell their computer to shut off engines.
Just put on some Nickelback. It's like,
There will be electronic warfare. It will work in that sense in some ways. I'm not sure about forcing them to turn on their communications and listen to you, because it's one of those things you allow to make people feel comfortable in the universe. But the idea of taking over a ship with electronic warfare is definitely happening.
Yeah, people are mad about that hacking. I see threads about it all the time.
Yeah, but the stuff that makes you mad in a game is often the stuff that makes it the most fun. So.
Is there anything you can say
man.
about how E-War is going to work in game, or is that still kind of hush hush right now?
Hush hush for now. It's going to be one of those things that'll come with a mini module, and we'll say, okay, by the way, the tracker works now, and the SWAC stuff works now, and go out and tell us what you think, and if you like it, we will keep it this way.
All right, moving on. We have a question from our very own Third Star. The Ask a Dev forum has been strangely silent for some time. Some of the threads haven't had a dev response in months. Could you possibly comment about that?
It's just everybody's really busy, pretty much. We send out reminders to all the supervisors now. You know, we started off saying, okay, every dev has to spend an hour answering questions, and we were able to keep that up for a while. But we just gotten to the point where everybody is so tasked down with so many things that it's up to the individual supervisor at this point to schedule sessions. And we do send reminders to everybody, hey guys, get on this. But right now we don't feel totally comfortable saying, okay, take your guys off of the Gamescom demo to answer forum questions. It will kind of ebb and flow as we go forward. There's no intention to stop talking to you guys. It's just a matter of our resources being totally taxed on the dev side.
So it's crunch time now then.
Pretty much, yeah. In fact, the whole team is at the office working right now, getting ready for demo we have in 4 or 5 days.
Sounds exciting.
Connor, you had something to say about that?
Yeah, you ever see the Wheel of Pain from Conan the Barbarian?
Yes.
That's exactly what you're going through, right?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, I have a new question. Even following development closely, it's a little hard to match patch numbers with version numbers. Like, recently we had patch 12.5. Is patch 13 going to be Arena Commander 0.9? This question was from Third Star, by the way.
This is confusing, and I'm sorry about it. The Arena Commander numbers, the V.8, V.9, V1.0, are a little bit artificial. We don't use them internally. Everything is Star Citizen version whatever. Star Citizen V13, which will be the next main branch release, will be Arena Commander V.9, and then Star Citizen 14 will be Arena Commander 1.0, I believe.
Okay, because on the public-facing end, the features were tied to Arena Commander version numbers, and that's all we know.
Yeah, I definitely get that would be confusing. Chris kind of came up with the Arena Commander milestones just to have it make a little bit more sense to our backers. You know, we look at Star Citizen V13 and we say, okay, it's got all the Arena Commander stuff, and also it has this FPS milestone and this social milestone and blah, 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 blah that you guys don't see.
Okay.
That's kind of all we think of internally, whereas the Arena Commander numbering was kind of just to explain to everybody how we're getting to what he promised originally. But 13 will be 0.9 and 14 will be 1.
That makes sense. So going forward, patches are going to be affecting multiple modules.
Yeah, in fact, they do already. Every time you see a new iterative patch, almost certainly will have changed, half a dozen other modules that didn't get built into the public version, but they're ongoing. In fact, version 13 will be the first time we've done that for a while. We split off for 12 to do Arena Commander. Meanwhile, the FPS team, the guys at Behavior, the Squadron 42 guys have all continued working. Release 13 will be the first time that all comes back together. So that's when you'll see stuff like the hangars with the room system, because that's all ready and waiting to be merged back into the game. It's just been separated out for Arena Commander for all these iterative patches. So we're coming back to the main branch, and 13 is going to be a big deal.
All right. So, Brandy, your freelancer question, please?
Using the freelancer variants as an example, will the process of releasing new ship variants be based on completely unique hulls now? Like as opposed to how they were before, where they were modular and they were just basically a hull upgrade. And also, to expand on that, will hulls be able to be swapped between one another if they're unique? So like, can you go to a store in game and, swap, cash for cash, a different hull? Or maybe like a slight upgrade?
It's going to depend on the ship. It's an in-universe thing rather than overall production thing. So we figure for the Aurora line, it's mostly one basic chassis. For the more expensive ships, we think, okay, they would make their style a little bit different. There won't be a way to go into the game and say switch from this look of freelancer to this look of freelancer, but all the parts in any of those freelancers can be taken off and put on another freelancer. So
it's not a production thing. This was just in universe how a ship's going to be manufactured differently. I see.
That's right. Yeah, and in fact, I think you'll see other ships that are like, I think the Mustang, the variants are a little bit more similar to each other rather than unique hulls.
Cool.
Okay, so like the freelancer Dur, the changes to like the nose are aesthetic.
They are, yeah. Although I think some of them may be sensors that will carry over if you switch to another version. Once the upgrade stuff is in the game, you guys are going to have fun playing with this and making monster freelancers. But so some of it is aesthetic limited to the hull, and some of it will carry from upgrade to upgrade. So,
are each of the various freelancer variants, like the Dur and the Max, like obviously they're completely different chassis. Cargo is going to be the difference, but will the equipment be compatible, or is there going to be equipment only in the Dur for like the Jean sensors or whatever, the computer that's supposed to be in there?
For the most part, any of the equipment can switch from one to another, except for when it wouldn't make sense, like the cargo area. So I can't take the cargo area out of a Max and shove it in a Dur. But I can take the sensors out of a Dur and I can probably put them in a Max. It'll just take up some of the cargo room that's there.
Oh, you're just going to dump it right in the cargo area?
Well, it'll have some impact. It may not be it might not reduce cargo space, but it'll increase your electronic signature, or it'll take from your power plant. It's going to be a balancing act in a variety of ways. So it's not just plug it in and it works. It's a matter of getting your resources just right. So maybe you'll want to also upgrade the power plant separately so it can support the additional equipment you've taken off of the other ship.
Okay, as a quick little follow-up question, this is something that's been plaguing us for a while. Everybody at CIG apparently pronounces it differently. How is Xi'an pronounced?
I have seen it pronounced both ways by the same. I've seen Chris Roberts say it both ways in a meeting, so I can't confirm.
I'm pretty sure I've heard at least three different ways.
I've seen Jian, Zian. I don't think there's an official.
I like
Sean, I think, was one of them.
I like John.
I was going based off of the commercial, the freelancer commercial, and I think he says Xi'an. I think
he
that's
does.
what he
That's
said.
right.
It's the Hornet commercial.
I don't want to say Xi'an.
But they're Dave Haddock, so I will ask him what his official name is.
Top priority.
It reminds me of a Marvel, with the Shi'ar.
We don't want to offend everybody.
Xi'an.
Pronouncing the name wrong.
From Third Star, Chris once mentioned ships that would dwarf the Bengal. Is he talking about a UEE ship, something from the Van Duel, something else entirely? And how big roughly are we talking here?
He is talking about both a Vanduul and a UEE ship that are in the works. I probably can't say more because they're related to the plot of Squadron 42. Although I believe I actually mentioned the name of the ship in last week's ATV news for the on the UEE side, so check that out. I think it slips out there.
Will
Well,
this
we know about
eventually?
the King ship.
No, this is the
Vanduul one.
UEE Dreadnought that Chris mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Will this eventually translate to the PU other than just Squadron 42? These big ships?
Yes, we're being totally thrifty with anything like that. If we are going to spend 2 months and $300,000 building a giant ship on the Squadron 42, we're definitely going to have it in the Persistent Universe also, probably in a number of different forms.
And how many
Nice.
dollars will be sold for on the store?
I have so many people trying to whenever we mention a destroyer or a battleship or something, I get a dozen people like, when can I buy it? Like, I don't know if you want that, but no
You
plans
would
to
be
sell it,
wrong.
is the official answer.
As a
There's
quick
gonna be-
follow-up, there was actually a question. The 890 jump, are you going to sell it, or is it going to be earnable in the PU?
We are going to sell. I mean, it'll be earnable in the PU like everything else, but we will sell that and the other. They're kind of the third year ships, I guess. The ones players voted on. We'll probably have a concept sale for it once it's already in the Hollow
Karak
Viewer.
too?
The Karak, yes.
Oh, really? Oh.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, all the ships will be available down the line. We just want to get closer to the point where they're in the game before we sell them this time. So there's more of a turnaround.
So all those new stretch goal ships will be purchasable before the game drops.
That's the plan, yeah, and I don't anticipate that changing.
Speaking of selling ships, is LTI completely dead and buried, or are you still entertaining the thought that it may come back at some point? Because people were making it to be quite a big deal, and it seems to have spiraled out of control at some point. Are you going to bring it back or not?
No plans to bring it back. I think the best we can do is just continue to try to shout to the rafters. LTI is not a big deal. Do not spend hundreds of dollars trying to LTI. It's not going to matter in the way you're imagining. It's going to be a slight convenience for people who backed us earlier. It's not a game changer in any way.
So you're saying
Have you seen sales a meaningful drop in sales since it's gone, or is the business still good? Despite
No,
it?
I mean, the numbers are still great. We're pulling in new players constantly. I mean, we did worry about that, and I honestly think we could have had a stronger criticism of LTI. We just should get out there that it's not the big deal people think it is.
But yeah, you guys didn't have 50 million at the time, so you're probably a little bit more worried about cash flow.
Oh yeah, we're still very happy with our sales.
Thank you.
We have a question from Spud. What can we expect in regards to single-player content within the next year?
Well, you're going to see the first episode of Squadron 42, probably additional episodes in the year. So lots of single-player content. We'll have our campaign well in hand by that point.
Is there going to be any additional single-player stuff for AC?
Oh, no, I'm not sure what we have planned next for AC. There's certainly all sorts of other modes. I don't know that any of them are single-player specific, although certainly we will be getting to the point where we need to test out other aspects of the AI, so yes, although they're not written down yet.
Okay, because it would be cool to have like a co-op Vandal Swarm kind of thing going on.
Oh yeah, I think you can expect to see lots of stuff like that. Like we just dropped the Capture the Flag thing on Friday. You'll see a lot more of things like that where we've come up with a new mode, and it'll be single player or multiplayer going forward.
Yeah, a bunch of us have actually played Capture the Core. One question that I didn't see anything. When you have the core, does your ship handle differently? Because it seems to be heavier, or you have more power. I don't know.
It does.
Just drag.
It does. Yes, it changes the physics of your ship significantly.
Yeah, we were noticing that.
So is that
didn't
extra
read
mass?
anything
What's the
about it.
difference?
Yeah, is that because it's imparting more power to your engines, or is it because it's heavier?
I believe it's the extra mass. The core is supposed to be super massive, and it's supposed to impact. It's supposed to reduce how well you fly.
So that's why I'm sliding everywhere.
Yeah, there's that way on the thread, the guy just slowly ramming into the ring.
Yeah, I do that all the time when I'm trying to cap it. I'm just like trying to go up. You're like, please, please, please go up. Try not to slam into the side of the ring. All right. Azriel, you had a question?
Yes, I was wondering, in regards to the rate that AC content is being released, I'm referring to stuff like patches and new game modes, not necessarily news and development information. Are you happy with how things are going? What are some trends you would like to continue in the future, and what are some things you think CIG could do differently?
I mean, I'd say we're never happy with the rate of things are being released. We want it to become as regular as possible. It would be great to get to the point where we have, a Friday drop with some new content for you guys every week. So we're working towards that. That's one of the reasons we're opening additional pipelines, so we can have, in addition to the big iterative patches where we go from 1.0 to 1.5, 2.0, we want to be able to say, okay, and this week the Avengers out. Oh, and this week the dual mode is out, and so on and so on. So we're happy with everything that's happened so far, and we want to do better in the future. It's the safe answer there. But certainly expect to see more content going forward rather than less.
I'm interested.
From Spud, are the 3.0 Arena Commander features like FPS boarding still on track? And if so, any idea on an ETA for when you can use a cutlass for boarding?
Things are still looking good. I don't want to give anything away, but check out Chris's presentation next week. That will answer a lot of your what's coming next questions.
Ooh.
Gamescom.
Too much hype.
Brandy, you have a question for Ben?
I do? I don't see it. Oh, there we go. Will the first-person shooter module be rolled into the Arena Commander releases, or can we expect it as part of AC 3.0, or maybe around the same time as that, just as a standalone?
I'm not sure if we're calling it Arena Commander, but we are going to do it with a similar
so it'll
layer
just
of
be a new
fiction
module
on top of it. So it'll be, you'll go into your holo simulation and you'll start doing the first-person shooter. I think you'll probably see that separate from the flight first, and then soon after you'll see it all just start to integrate. I think we'll do first-person shooter and then kind of start to merge the modules. So you'll have boarding, landing on a space station by 3.0.
So just in different aspects of your hangar, you can just walk to a little thing that allows you to do a virtual simulation of a board or whatever. And then it'll
yeah.
Okay.
In fact, we'll have the room system by then, so we can add all sorts of interesting stuff to your hangar. You can even leave your hangar at that point. Once we get the room system in, you're in the Star Citizen universe rather than in your own separate hangar. So we'll be kind of building out of your hangar from there. So you can leave it and go to the bar across the street. Once the social stuff is ready, you can go to a ship dealer as we build it.
Talking about the room system, any information you can drop about when we can see new artwork or when we can expect the new hangars to launch, like for the deluxe revamp or...
What, the Asteroid hangar?
Those are all going to be in Arena Commander 0.9, Star Citizen 13.
So that's the upcoming release then?
That's next week, yeah.
Nice.
Or maybe a week after that.
I don't know if it's going to be next week, but you'll certainly see a lot more about it next week.
Soon after next week.
Yes.
Will
that's
the
the official word.
Will that also include the asteroid hangar?
Yep. In fact, the asteroid hangar is ready to go as soon as we get back to that branch. It was the first one that was done.
Is that going to have the room system, or are you going to do one without it, just to put it in first?
Nope, it was built with the room system from the ground up. In fact, what's been slowing it down is going back to the other hangars and redoing them with the room system. But we are almost there. I think 3 out of 4 of them are done at this point. Business hangar needs at least one more coat of paint.
All right, excellent. So real quick, so you're going to have being able to go into the Gold Horizon station as a temporary fix until you add capture the Idris mode and the FPS boarding stuff in 3.0?
Yep, that's definitely what you're going to be seeing.
Alex, your question for Ben?
Ben, what is your vision for Explorer gameplay? Especially after the whole content has been devoured by the players. Initially, I imagined that people they will just be exploring new areas, but after everything is mapped and we are waiting for the next content drop, and my character is an explorer and I want to, for example, spend 4 hours playing, what will I be doing after everything is explored? What does an explorer do?
Yeah, well, one of the things we go into the Precision Universe doing is that we can't work like a traditional MMO where you get your big drop every 6 months, every year, where you add your space pandas, or you add, oh, by the way, they discovered another continent next door. So we have to go in giving our GMs the content creation tools they need to give you things to explore on the fly. So if we already know that when we launch the game, if we have 30 systems that are undiscovered and we go in thinking, oh, it'll take them 6 months to find this, that you're going to have it done in a week. So we have to build the tools for ourselves so we can say, oh, we need more star systems. Let's go very quickly create some for people to discover. So it won't be something that we patch regularly. It'll be something that's happening in real time. And that's the great thing about a space game, is that there are infinite stars to explore, and it makes sense if we're continuing to add new planets.
Azrael, you had a comment?
Oh yes, the GM system you described sounds interesting and fairly expansive. Would that fall under your purview as community manager, how that's set up and works?
Possibly. I mean, it's one of those things we'll see once we get there. I will definitely have a lot of input on it.
I mean, there is a PU director now.
I was saying Tony Zurovec in Austin is our Persistent Universe director. He's going to be the guy who makes the call on a lot of these things.
Oh, okay, cool. Alex, you had something to follow up on that with?
Yes. So is exploring going to be like just flying around the universe looking for, I don't know, wormholes, I imagine, to jump into and being attacked by aliens from time to time? Or how do you imagine it?
It's going to be more immersive than that. We did a poll early on, and we were surprised by how many people are interested in exploring. So it's its own dedicated game design, basically, which I do not want to spoil yet. In fact, I can't spoil it yet because it's Chris's thing to talk about. But it's going to be more than just finding space holes and checking off on randomly generated planet. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff out there, and we have to tie it back to the economy. So once you've discovered a star system, there's going to be all sorts of options what you can do with it. It goes into our other system of power value information. But to dodge your question, I can't talk about the Explorer stuff yet, since that'll be a big reveal similar to Death of a Spaceman in the future.
I understand. Thank you.
From Third Star, do we have any news about the female character model, and some of which we saw Sandy post on Facebook? And expanding on that, how is the general development of character customization going?
Female character is coming very soon. Character customization, in fact, you're going to be seeing a lot more characters very soon. As I mentioned earlier, we've got our character pipeline and our ship component pipeline just kind of speeding up right now. We're going to get to a point where you're seeing new characters and new outfits regularly, and then we'll have it as a module where you can actually create characters for AC and the hangar and such.
By the way, is that still involving the collaboration with the guys behind Kingdom Come Deliverance, Warhorse Studios?
Yeah, it is. We are still working with them. We provided them a lot of the exclusive code we've written, and they've given us all of their character customization stuff. I know we did a big tech review of it recently, and we were really impressed with it. So you will be seeing a lot of their work.
Great.
Next, we have another question from Third Star. He does write a lot. Has CIG decided that they won't show off any early work-in-progress concepts for ships? I understand that you've gotten burned by doing that previously, but I, for one, would love to see all the early concepts and realize they are in constant flux.
It's going to depend ship to ship. I don't have a strong problem with it. I mean, I know there's a lot on the forums like, oh, they showed the freelancer too early, and it was this problem and this problem, and I don't think that's the case. I think we had a great experience with that, with the feedback from the community. I mean, feedback from the community has been essential in a lot of the ship redesigns, getting cockpits right, control surfaces. I think you will definitely still see early ship concepts going forward. And we do post them. We showed it off for the Gladius and a couple other ships lately. I think we will never have as many ship concepts as people want to see, but we don't have a strong decision not to share it.
Another question from Third Star. In the short term, how will moderation of Arena Commander be handled? Is there going to be any restrictions on language or filters, that kind of thing?
Well, that is a question that we will figure out once we actually have our chat working in Arena Commander. At the moment, it functions just like the XMPP chat on the forums and is moderated the same way.
We have a question from Beaky Helmet. I don't know if he's here, but when will we be able to paint our ships? How will the aesthetic customization system work, and which team is working on that?
Hey,
When will we be able to put organization logos on our ships?
Okay, that is coming. In fact, the reason you haven't seen more and more skins for sale is because we don't have it in the CryEngine yet. It's the team at Behavior in Canada and production in Austin have that on their plate. So it's going to be a customization to CryEngine that will come in the next couple of months, and after that you'll be able to select skins, customize, add your logos, all that.
So will we be able to pick colors and apply them to any skin, or are the skins just colors and pattern, the full package, or how's that going to work?
That is exactly what we're wrestling with right now, just because it's proven to be more of a technical challenge than expected getting skins working in CryEngine. It's one of those things where we kind of see the end in sight, but it's going to take a little time to get there. The goal is to let you color your ship in any way you want, apply any logo you want, and then skins would be our kind of fancily designed logos by our in-house artists, which you would then be able to edit. But it's a hill we have to cross to get there for various technical reasons, but it's coming.
Okay, awesome. So can you tell us anything about the 300i pass? As I think you mentioned earlier tonight about the 300i getting another pass, but I think a lot of people are confused as to whether the 300i pass was just them getting it ready for Arena Commander a while back, or if it's still getting another pass after that.
The last pass we did had to do with its ability to dump its cargo, ability for player to eject, which I am not sure has been integrated into Arena Commander properly yet. So I think you will see a couple more changes. It's not going to be as massive as the Constellation update or the Freelancer update, but I think you will see some additional changes just in terms of more expansive gameplay.
Okay, well, I know for a fact we're going to the instrumentation has to be changed because they've said that was a placeholder at best.
That's right. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I was really wondering about the 300i because, well, it has a lot of issues with it, I feel. Like, the giant gull-wing doors that space the cockpit whenever you open them. Is that what you're talking about when you're talking about, like, it has to dump its cargo?
Yes. Yeah, that is one of the issues.
Okay, because I thought that in one of the shows that you guys put on that the 300i was getting a cargo box to attach to the bottom of it instead of having its cargo inside the gull-wing area.
I know there is an optional cargo box, but last I heard, Chris was not happy with how it looked, so it's a little up in the air there.
Okay.
Just because it's supposed to be the sexiest ship, and if it's
right,
if it's got a box stuck under it all the time, that's not.
Yeah, when I first heard about the cargo box, I thought that then meant that the area underneath the gull-wing doors was meant to be the living area, and then I was double confused because there's nothing in there, like. And a lot of the early 300i concepts, there was a bed and all sorts of living arrangements.
Yeah, I think the idea is certainly for there to be a little living quarters back there. I will chat with an artist about it and see if we can get an update out at the site. Just let people know.
Okay,
Excellent, because we
awesome.
were very concerned.
Yeah.
TM.
Brackets
We
and all,
might
with a
even
poll.
have to make a poll and a thread and everything.
No, not a poll. That's our one weakness.
Let's see. Okay, so the cross chassis upgrades and LTI. I know this is like you guys' least favorite subject. You've mentioned that, or I think somebody mentioned that there will be more cross chassis upgrades as they're introduced into Arena Commander, and I was wondering how far that's going to go. Like, should we expect to be able to upgrade a 315P to a Carrack or something, or a Constellation to a Carrack once they hit Persistent Universe, or how far is that going to go? And like, yeah, just how far is that going to go?
That's our thought. Keep it going until the game launches. So whenever you have a new ship before the game launches, if people want to upgrade to it, we'll give them that option.
So every ship will be upgradable? Like you could go from an Aurora to a Freelancer or a Connie, for example?
Yeah, if you want to pay for it. I mean, that's entirely outside the universe. That's going through our e-store, and it's not something you would have in the actual game. But it seems to be something that a lot of our backers want. A lot of our people backed when there were 5 ship options, and now that there are 25 or 50 options, no reason to keep them from picking the ship they really want.
No reason to stop them from spending money on something they want.
No, can't complain about that.
All right, Beaky, your next question.
Okay, let's see. Oh, so the Caterpillar. This is kind of a multi-part question for the Caterpillar. Can it really take 3,200 freight units of pure cargo? Because that's what it said on the ship specs page for a while. Like, I think the ship specs page has been redone. It still says that.
One thing for the larger ships, I'm not sure how much cargo it will actually take. It should be in that area. But one part of the new cargo system is we have to actually get it in the cryogen and measure it. So you will see that change once the Caterpillar is actually in the game. But it should be roughly that.
Wow. Okay, and then the other thing was, because we haven't seen a lot about the Caterpillar in a while, apart from the new concept art that was just on around the verse. Is the Caterpillar going to be modular? Like, are we going to be able to swap out the middle sections for living quarters for extra troops, or more cargo space, or whatever?
More turrets.
Yeah, more turrets.
That is the hope. We haven't sat down and said, we're going to do Caterpillar variants and Caterpillar options yet, but we're certainly building it with that as an option.
Nice.
All right, we have a next question from Azrael. You want to grab that?
Yeah, I was wondering, have you personally ever played games like Eve, Elite Dangerous, or any of the older Elite games, any freelancer multiplayer, or other multiplayer space games that you found interesting that weren't Chris Roberts games? Because I know you've got good Chris Roberts' credentials. I'm wondering about some others you may have come across.
Well, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter is probably the penultimate not Chris Roberts game that's great multiplayer space combat. I played a little bit of Free Space. It was cool. It's not my favorite game, but certainly Freelancer, X-Wing TIE Fighter, Wing Commander Armada. Pretty much my multiplayer space combat history. Starlancer. Starlancer had a fantastic co-op mode.
I never
basis.
even played that too, and I really like Starlancer.
The Starlancer multiplayer was underlooked, but it was very fun.
Didn't he say that's the one that they put all that effort into that feature and almost nobody used it?
Yeah. Eric Peterson led that charge, and nobody ever played it. But it's pretty cool. It had a very clean, nice design. You could play between the Dreamcast version and the PC version. There was a lot of cool stuff on Starlancer.
I remember trying to play that game on the Dreamcast controller. Not very much fun.
How about any mods for other games, such as Diaspora or things along that vein?
Well, I did a lot of Wing Commander modding. Things like Standoff. I used to create my own Wing Commander 1 missions. But not a lot of non-Chris Roberts stuff.
Well, that sounds really interesting.
I have a question here from Cocaine Samurai. Has there been a point in developing Arena Commander with all the different ship systems like power distribution and stuff where the team or Chris thought, is this too needlessly complicated?
No, I think they like complicated. One thing we find is that doing things complicated right now gives us a lot more options down the road. So like our physics engine is so unnecessary for the task at hand, but the fact that we've gotten it in and working right now means that we can take the game in all sorts of cool directions pretty rapidly in the future. It's a lot of building the foundation right now, and that's why some things seem very complicated at the moment. They're going to fit into our wider systems very well down the road without lots of extra work.
All right. We have another question from Cocaine. Let's see. Has there been is the SC team satisfied with how each control setup is performing in AC? Specifically, we're trying to find out about like class 1, class 2, etc., etc.
No, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more balancing in terms of how the different gun classes work, what a class 2 gun does compared to a class 1, how you operate those, those ones that... in fact, I think the ITTS is turned off right now, and that'll be back in the future.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. Are we actually going to get a lead indicator rather than the put it in the middle and fire?
Yes, in fact, I saw an email from Chris Roberts the other day. It was like, who turned off the ITTS? It was supposed to be in the last build, so that's coming back soon.
TM.
Excellent. All right, Alex, you actually had a question?
Okay. How do you plan to balance out the game so that it appeals both to hardcore PvP players who may be playing pirate and such and be dissatisfied with just shooting at NPCs, and those who prefer non-combat activities? How are you planning to keep both the space herbivores and space carnivores entertained in the great space circle of life? Entertained and challenged, so that they don't leave early.
Yeah, that's kind of the essential challenge to any game like this. Our basis for the experience is Ultima Online. Ultima Online did a fantastic job of being a quiet place you could go and do whatever you wanted to. You could live your fantasy life. You could go spend all your time being a fisherman or clicking on dogs until you'd tame them. Or you could go out and you could gank other players and you could explore dungeons and you could do the traditional MMORPG fighting thing. And my feeling is that everything since then has left out the quiet stuff. So our first goal is bring that back in our world. Make an experience worth having for explorers, for traders, for communications folks.
Space gas station operators.
Exactly. And once we get that in there where it's more than just an afterthought. Oh, by the way, you can kill 50 rats, and if you want to click on flour, it becomes bread. Once it's more than that, then I think we keep a lot of those players.
So I understand Star Citizen is still on the table and not just Hornet and Friends.
Arena Commander is a lot of fun, but it's not representative of the final Star Citizen experience. There's going to be something for everyone. That's the goal.
Thank you.
All right, Molasses, you had a question?
Yeah, this is our favorite topic of LTI and insurance in general. I know you mentioned a while back that things like fraudulent insurance claims, like let's say you and your buddies decide that you want to get another Idris, so you and your friends just fake steal an Idris from your buddy who owns it. And you'd mentioned that there's going to be some kind of anti-fraud team for that, which makes sense. But how well is that going to work? I know for things when you can tell that the person who stole that person's ship was in the same corp, so it's probably a little bit shady. But let's say these guys meet up on Craigslist or some other kind of off.
Space
Craigslist insurance scam ring.
Yeah, but and so there's no way of telling that they know each other, and then they set up their their ship fraud then. How are we going to handle these things in game?
Well, one of the things we're working in that area on is since we have all this experience with the selling early, we'll have 2 or 3 years of experience with selling things to that point. We have a dedicated fraud person who takes care of all the cases where someone stole a credit card and they bought 50 RARs and distributed them to their 50 blank accounts. You tend to figure out patterns, and you're able to prevent that 95, 99% of the time as you gain that experience. So we're actually going to use the same team who is doing our credit card fraud type analysis to create the systems in the universe where they're going to be people who get biased. They figure, we figure out how to scam the system and get 4 ships. We're going to catch them in the long run and prevent that from happening going forward. It's a lot more being responsive and putting in systems to counter players who are figuring out how to break what we launch with.
Let's say that there's like cases like that in game where somebody does fraud, but it's not exactly credit card fraud or scamming people directly, just kind of abusing the system a little bit. Is there going to be in-game like police forces that will actively seek out fraud, like as an immersive standpoint, like go and seek out people who have committed cases of fraud in game or stolen things in game, like the advocacy chasing you?
Yeah, that's exactly the goal. So it's not, this guy figured out how to scam our system and steal an Idris. It's going to be, this guy figured out how to scam the UEE ship buying system and steal Idrises. And now there's a bounty on his head. If you want to go blow up that Idris and take it away from him, we'll give you UEC. So it'll be used more for mission generation than it will be, this guy's doing something wrong, ban him. So that's not the plan. It's inside the universe.
All right, cool. Because I like the idea of insurance in games, especially like if arena commanders anyway to show it that your ship can die fairly quickly, and you might have spent a lot of time running that ship, and all of a sudden your ship blows up and you got nothing left. That kind of sucks. Like that kind of thing will make you not want to play the game for a couple of weeks. So having insurance is good.
So from Connor, what is RSI's position on FPS-related packages in the near future? I presume that means something to sell.
Basically, what I understand he's asking is he's trying to see, are you going to make a package related for just people who want to do like the FPS boarding or just fight on foot?
Some of us want to be Space Marines.
At the moment, I think you're always going to have to buy a ship package. It's easy to sell FPSs. If you just want to play at FPS, there are plenty of them out there. We're including this in our game because we think it's really cool, but it's never going to be the main focus. We want to get people back into space.
All right, I can dig that.
All right, and just ask the next question, Connor. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Are you guys ever going to have Colonel Blair return? You know who I'm talking about.
You never know.
Oh man, I would love to see that guy back. Mark Hamill's just a good guy.
I have a feeling we would have seen him a lot sooner if he had not been cast in Star Wars the moment we started our project.
Have you seen his new beard? It's god tier.
All right, I got a question from one of our members, Mouse. He wants to know if the reason why the progress has been slow is because you haven't only been working on a large number of changes and a lot of people to manage, but you're also working with CryEngine, which doesn't exactly play well with the things it wasn't intended to do. For example, making a space sim out of an FPS engine.
Everybody said that going in, that CryEngine was so much trouble. CryEngine was a problem. We've had great support from Crytek. We have great people on staff who are, they can make CryEngine sing. We have not been experiencing the issues everybody predicted in that area. As for progress being slow, I don't think it's so much that it's slow as, FPS has been in development simultaneously, PlanetSide has been developing simultaneously. You're going to start to see lots of things come out at the same time. It's just a matter of getting to the point where we have enough stuff that's releasable. And I think that sometimes we underestimate when a build is going to be playable. We'll say, Arena Commander is going to be ready, and then we look at it and we say, no one's going to get this. This is
no more dates anymore,
pre
right?
alpha. Yeah, no more dates. But in the near future, you definitely will not feel the progress is slow. You're going to see more and more as it kind of snowballs.
Okay. Alex, you had a question?
Why are all the aliens green and some sort of lizards? Are you planning like the tentacle monsters or space horror or something? Because everything so far has been humanoid and like reptilian, lizard, and that kind of creatures.
Well, we do have a couple of others you haven't seen yet. The humanoid thing is
More for gameplay reasons. We want to be able to integrate the aliens into our same system. You know, we want you to be able to fly their ships today. We want you to be able to visit their planets in a way that makes sense. And then down the road, we want to be able to say, okay, now you can play a Cheyenne or a Banu or a Vandal as a different character class. So they have to resemble humans in that way so that they can work into our outfit system, work into our player animation, and so on. But you will see some genuinely alien stuff out there to discover down the road.
Is unspeakable Lovecraftian horror in the cards for Star Citizen?
I think that's certainly quite possible. We have quite a few Lovecraft fans on the design.
Just put an octopus into the mocap booth.
All right.
a little ball on each of those tentacles.
Anybody have any general questions for Ben? Because we're done with our QA, and after that, we'll move on to lightning round.
Yes, for the FPS module, what games have you been kind of basing it off? I know you mentioned that you had that guy who worked on SWAT 4 for some of it, but what other games were you kind of using as bases for the combat module?
I do not want to answer that one officially because I have not been in charge of design for FPS modules, so I'm not entirely sure what their influences are. Gotcha. At the early stages, when I was involved, it was the original Ghost Recon was my that's my go-to FPS experience. That was the one I told them to play.
What does Chris want as far as the FPS goes? Is he an FPS player at all? I know he plays Dark Souls, but
I don't think he's a big traditional FPS fan. He likes a game that's more of a challenge. You know, one shot is bad news. That's that sort of thing. A lot more cover combat, more realistic than the Call of Duty. Oh, your blood is
so
recharging.
very
and now you're
Rainbow
cool.
Six-ish.
Yeah, absolutely. That I would say that would be the Chris Roberts FPS experience. But I remember going to Digital Anvil back when I was a teenager and getting shown around and being told, oh, for Star Lancer 2, we're going to have FPS in it. You're going to be able to walk around the ship during the mission. So this is like a long-term dream of his, and I think it has a lot more to do with the integration into the space combat than it does any specific FPS experience. So I think that's the real cool factor for him, is just the idea that instead of landing and getting a cutscene, you actually land on the ship and get out and walk around and fight a battle on the ground and get back on your ship. The seamlessness of it.
Do you know if Chris? Yeah, do you know if Chris has played Shattered Horizon?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's exactly up this game's alley.
Yeah.
I do not know, but I can certainly ask him.
Because that's pretty much what everyone's imagining as FPS combat is, as far as
the grab boots, the astronaut suits, the no sound.
Salient,
I know he's also big into the zero-G combat right now. He very much wants to see that Moonraker stuff where you fly around outside in your suit and have your single laser cannon.
That's pretty much what Shattered Horizon is. Nice.
And that's another one of those things where we built our physics engine to allow this, and once we actually see it happening, it just kind of justifies all the work we've done to this point.
Well, I don't want to derail from this, but my question was, what was it like running Wing Commander News all those years and sort of holding the fort on your own, sort of?
Oh, it was a great experience. I mean, I met all the people who are still my best friends today through Wing Commander News. I'm still the biggest Wing Commander fan. Actually, Wing Commander News turned 15 years old today, so it was great. It was a labor of love, a great time all around.
I know I used to visit that site often, hoping some of those mods would materialize, but a lot of them kind of just fizzled out.
We got two of them though. Standoff mod for Wing Commander Prophecy and Saga mod for Free Space 2 are both very, very cool.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, sort of maybe not directly Star Citizen related, but still, I heard on the news a few weeks ago or last week, I don't remember, that Crytek, the studio or the developer of the CryEngine, had financial troubles, and they were actually closing their Austin, Texas studio. And does this influence Star Citizen in any way, or is it just unrelated? Because I assume that some people over there lost their jobs and are now looking for a new job.
Yes, so it's influenced in a couple ways. They actually have not closed their Austin studio, but I believe they canceled whatever game they're developing in Austin, but they're still keeping it open as their licensing interface studio. So they'll still be there to work with us when we need something from them. We bought the CryEngine outright, so it's not sort of a license deal where if they go out of business, we're in trouble. We have all the assets and can take it in any direction we want, and we're not responsible for giving anything back to them. But they have been amazing partners so far. They've been great for helping us through various technical issues. I think we find we work with them less and less just as our people have become very experienced with CryEngine. Their difficulties financially have not impacted us in that area. They've still been available to us in any way we've needed them. It has meant that there have been a lot of CryEngine qualified people on the market for the first time ever. We're certainly moving to snap some of them up as best we can. They closed the studio in the UK where we have a studio. They let people go in Austin, so that's actually great news for Star Citizen if we can have more people who know the CryEngine coming on.
Are you guys going to grab Sean Tracy?
I can't comment on that yet.
Confirmed.
We're a big fan of the Tracys because, MechWarrior, Living Legends, and all that.
Yeah, I think you will definitely be seeing a lot more of both Tracys in Star Citizen.
Awesome. At this point, though, isn't the CryEngine, or at least CIG's version of it, isn't like almost a different engine now? I remember Travis was calling it the Star Engine or something.
It is totally different. We have branched so far from what we started with.
Oh, Jeff had a question. Bought outright. There's no licensing.
That's right. Yeah, we paid for it outright. It's ours to do with as we please.
Excellent. So, anybody else have any more questions before we move on to the lightning round? All right, Ben. The lightning round is just a bunch of short questions. You can answer any way you want. Hopefully, you won't be too offended. But
no worries.
All right, here we go. Is there Bitcoin as a payment method?
We've looked into it. We're still discussing it. We'd like to do it, but our lawyers worry that sets up a red flag that the government then comes and investigates us in ways we don't want.
All right. Ass man or tit man?
Ass.
Nice.
All right. $500 Golden Hornets.
I would be happy to sell those.
What about infinite size?
If I never have to hear about whether or not people can get the scythe again, that would be a great solution.
All right. What's your KDR?
I'm not even sure what that means.
Kill death ratio.
Kill death ratio. In AC.
Oh, right.
Are you an ace pilot?
I was good very early on. I think I turned on AC about a week ago, and I had like 97 patches, so that gives you an indication of how much I've been playing lately.
All right. Would you pod kill James?
I do all sorts of murderous things to James.
Are you a prolific rammer?
I still have not played a game where people are ramming each other, so
It is the new
been
meta.
lucky, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really common. All right. Favorite ship in the current lineup?
Let's see. The current NAC would be the 300, I think.
Okay. Hot ass or Mouseketeer?
Hot ass. I mean, even if it's even if playing with a mouse makes you better, I'm gonna stick with the joystick and the throttle. It's just so much more fun to be holding on to that.
Heard it here. Playing with the mouse makes you better.
What about
Denied.
gamepads?
Oh, man.
Nobody cares about gamepads.
Is the missile meta real?
No, it's not.
And finally, is this game pay to win?
It's not pay to win, but if you want to slip me a couple bucks, I can give you a better ship. No, not pay to win. Not pay to win.
Okay. Do you like giant robots?
I do like giant robots.
As a follow-up, is there anything you can reveal to us about that mining robot? Because we're all pretty stoked about that.
We want to fight with them.
Oh, that's
like
right. You're
mechs.
the mech warrior.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I mentioned on ATV last week was that we were working on the cockpit of the mech, and there's only really one reason why we would need a cockpit. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, that is it for the lightning round. Does anybody have any questions? I know Valk just got in here, and he might have a question for you.
Hey guys, no, I don't actually have any questions at the moment. It's good to hear that everything's still going well with the Concast in my absence. I know I've been away for a while. That's all I've got to say.
All right. Well, Ben, is there anything you want to let anybody know about what's going on or anything? Because at this point, we're pretty much done.
No, I would say check out Gamescom. So we'll have a live stream on Friday morning. Chris will have a lot of cool stuff to show that I'm not allowed to talk about right now, so check that out. But full steam ahead.
Ask Chris if he wants to get on the show.
Yeah, maybe you can give a shout out to us.
Yeah, maybe he'll remember me. I was the guy in the Ace Combat 5 cosplay at PAX East when he was doing the signing for the posters. So I got to meet with him. He's a pretty awesome guy.
Wait, were you dressed up as a plane or as like a pilot?
Oh no, I was placed. I was one of the pilots.
Oh god.
No, airplane cosplay. That could be the next big thing.
There was one guy. There was one
You know
guy.
what's going to happen at Star
it.
Citizen cons now, right? People are going to be dressing up as Hornets. 300 eyes.
Man, I
Roars.
would love to see a working Hornet Transformer cosplay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ben, for joining us on Concast.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure. I hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
All right. That'll be it for us here at Concast. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.
Thanks for listening to Concast.